Welcome back, Blue Noses, to the free Blue Boys podcast. Thank you to our viewers and listeners for joining us again. Of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like if you enjoyed today's video, and hit that bell notification button so you never miss a new upload. Please also consider following us on our social media platforms, links to which are on the screen for you now and down in the description below. Gentlemen, it feels like quite a while since we've been here last time. I think it's about 4 weeks by my math, if my math's correct. So good to be back.
Yeah, finally back on the regular podcast episodes after a good festive break. Lots of games, lots of tired legs out there, lots of injuries. But yeah, we're starting to get into a bit of a stride again now in terms of the new year. And a few games and transfer rumours and a certain somebody scoring a goal finally. So a little bit to talk about, isn't there?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it really is good to be back, and I want to thank everybody, as we all do, for everybody that's kind of watched us over the Christmas and New Year period of Watford, really, which was an awful point, and it's the closest I've seen people get to wanting CD's head on a plate.
Big time.
Yeah.
To the high of beating Cov in a very, very unexpected result, as we said on the post-match reaction. So yeah, it's been a tumultuous period, but good to be back in the studio finally.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think the Coventry game, which you said, was an unexpected one, but it was a very important win after obviously losing away at Watford, and then that led us finally into the third round of the FA Cup. And when we did get that draw, I think I remember it before Christmas, we weren't too happy with it really. But
no, it was met with universal sighs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not particularly enthusiastic.
There was only a few teams left in it, and we think, there was Newcastle, Arsenal, and here we go. Yeah, Birmingham City, we'll be playing Cambridge. Fuck off. But we did manage to get through in the end, didn't we? So. Yeah,
and I think it was good, the team selection. I think we talked about this, certainly you and Dad did, in the post-match reaction following the Cambridge game at the past weekend. So it was good to get the win, get it over the line, get us into the fourth round. It's a very congested calendar, isn't it, the football calendar, particularly if you're a championship team, because it's 46 league games. You've got your League Cup games, your FA Cup games, and of course, if your Leagues 1 and 2 as well, you've got the virtual trophy to contend with as well. Although, albeit some teams don't make it that far in the competition, nor in the main cup competition, the FA Cup and the League Cup. But it's good to get through to the next round, like you say. Stranger things have happened. We've actually won away, and Kyogo scored a goal.
Yeah.
So it was a positive all round, really.
Yeah, that's it. I think it was another win on the road that we rarity this season, but we needed. But it was done in classic Blues fashion, where it was much riskier than it needed to be. We went into the last 10 minutes with extra time added, another 5 or something like that. 3-0 up. And Cambridge pulled 2 back, and you think, "No, come on, Blues, please don't do this to us." But we managed to get over the line, as you say, Dan. Kyogo finally scoring a goal. Very, very good finish.
Well taken goal. Sort of very Kyogo-esque, wasn't it? Chased down the defender, forced the error, and got himself in front of goal.
Yeah, normally Kyogo-esque was chase him down, get through, and then absolutely fumble it. But it was an emphatic finish, and me and you watched it at home, didn't we, Dad? And I think I very much enjoyed the goal.
You did.
I'm a supporter of his, like a lot of Blues fans are, hence the chance at the end. But Kyle Wagner had a really good start to the life at Blues this season. Obviously got an assist in the game before that, and then scored against Cambridge. And then Marvin Dutch, who's on a bit of form at the minute, 3-2 on the swivel, puts us 3-0 up. Yes, it was a risky one in the end with it being 3-2, but we saw it over the line, and it was a good enough performance, wasn't it, for what we needed to do, which I think was win. And I think that was the consensus from Chris Davis, to build some momentum. And first half, I think we had the better of it. And obviously scored the third in the second. I think a lot of Blues fans weren't too happy with the second half performance. Felt it was a little bit flat, not a lot of urgency. I don't know about you, Dan, but I know we got quite annoyed with that with certain players, where we seem to back off a lot when teams come at us. And dare I say, it probably puts a down on it a little bit, but was that a championship team in front of us on Saturday? I think we would have been beaten.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, looking at the comments from the people that made them on the video on the post-match, I think the consensus seemed to be that people thought first half was okay. The first 20 minutes was really kind of laborious for both teams. Then we got the goal, and then Kyogo got his goal. And at that point, at half-time, you're thinking, looking better now, we can go on and kind of do more and more. We're not going to be Man City necessarily, but we might be the same as the Wolves. We might get 6 when you start looking at it like that. But we went flat. We went flat in the second half, and I think this is what the guys were feeding back on, and which I agreed with. We didn't push on. We became more defensive. Interestingly, only had 51% of the possession, as we said on the post-match. Got the third goal. Is it against the run of play? Maybe. Or maybe it just seemed to come from nowhere. But at that point, at 3-0 with 15 minutes left, you think, okay, we should just kind of sweep this up now and it'll be done. And as you said, it didn't happen that way. But it wasn't a performance. It wasn't vintage. It wasn't something you're going to look back on in years to come and remember that it was that great, or it was something that kind of you're going to remember in the annals of Blues history. But as you said, it got the job done, and it gets us in the hat, and that's all there is to say about it in the end.
Yeah, and obviously, next subject we'll come on to is obviously transfers. But just to touch on that game, in relation to when we talk about the Swansea game, which we got next away, I did notice in that game that, because you just touched on the possession stats there, Dad, is that we were happy for the home team to have the ball, even aside against Cambridge, where you'd probably expect us to have the ball and dominate. Yeah. But we were very happy to sit in and play a bit more compact. And I've noticed that we've been doing that a little bit more recently, albeit not the Watford game. But I like this style, and I think other Blues fans have noticed the same thing, where we seem to be not sitting deep, but we seem to be a little bit more compact and happy to sort of, let teams play in front of us. When it gets into the dangerous areas, we can press them. And we've all talked about this, but I think that's what we definitely should be doing away. And thinking into transfers, I think there'll be some players that could help strengthen that style of play.
Yeah, like you say, we'll come on to that shortly in the transfers, Joe. And particularly one addition would really help that as well, as we'll talk about. But like you say, it's good to see us being more compact, sitting back in our own half, letting the opposition have the ball a little bit more rather than trying to pound the rock, play out from the back. Just happy to let teams come into the half and play their football and just sit tight. I've always believed we've had the players capable of doing it. Yeah. Or certainly in the key areas. And we've got a good back line and we can hold it there. Davis, having looked at the way that he does, he's very analytical, he's very data-driven. But I think now maybe he's bringing another facet into the game, is which he's observing what's going on and he's knowing that there's maybe got to be a change now. It's taken long enough to get there, but hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the way it's going, because proof against teams like Coventry, it works. Yeah, and against the best team in the division that scored the most goals in the Championship as well. So the proof is in the pudding, and hopefully continue and hopefully get us some results.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking, isn't it? But we do hope that that's going to carry forward into the away games, which obviously we'll talk about. But there'll definitely be hopefully some players to strengthen us, and which we'll talk about very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Blues fans, we've cut the podcast just at this point because we are going to be looking at the fourth round draw live, as our producer gave us the thumbs up to have a look at it. So we will do a reaction for the fourth round. Hopefully we get somebody good. It's going to end up being Hull away, most likely, but you guys will know by the time we see it as well. Hoping for a good reaction, and we will join you back at the podcast shortly.
If you'd like to sponsor the Free Blue Boys podcast, you can get in touch via our social media platform or via our email address. Thanks very much. Now back to the podcast.
Right, we just finished watching the fourth round draw there. So we have got Leeds United at home on the weekend. That we're supposed to be playing West Bromwich Albion. So very happy with the draw, aren't we? We thought when we were just
really
watching
pleased.
it there that we thought we'd got Brentford, but they'd actually already gone. But a very good draw nonetheless. So fireworks will be popping off, and it should be a good one. And because we're at home, and it's one of the teams in the Premier League that's struggling compared to a lot of others, I think we can take them. That should be a good one. Yeah,
I think we can. Like you say, it's one of the strugglers, and the FA Cup is just one of those competitions you never know what you're going to get on the day, do you? So, no, bring it on. And a neighbour of mine 2 doors down is a Leeds fan, so...
Oh, there you go, mate.
Let's go, Mark.
I think I said to you, didn't I, off camera a couple of days back, anybody at home in the Prem, apart from the top four, as it were, and I fancied our chances, so I do fancy our chances with that one. So, let's see how we do. Let's see how we do. But so another month and we'll be on that one. So good stuff. Something to look forward to.
Right, and straight into transfers then, isn't it?
Yep, I think you've been doing a little bit of research on this, really, because I didn't really know what was sort of particularly the ins movement, because there was a lot of talk about the outs. There was talks about Keogh going back to Celtic, obviously Erin Cashin's return to Brighton Hove Albion, then immediately loaned back out to Blackburn Rovers, which I thought was a little bit odd. Just keep him on at us, because I thought he was starting to really sort of come to the fore with us, which is a shame. And I do wish Erin Cashin all the best, because I think he's a good bloke, and I think he's a good player at this level. Obviously, Brighton have been impressed by him. So, what are the ins you've been hearing on the rumour mill then, Joe?
Well, just to touch on your outs there, Dan, just real quick. I think the Erin Cashin thing, and I would agree with you, that it looked like he was starting to pick up some form. Obviously, I think because of Kyle Wagner coming in, and they saw Cashin as a fill-in at left-back, because Cochrane's been a bit injury-prone this season. Yeah. I think it's one of them for Erin Cashin. I wish him the best, obviously, and it looked like he was starting to pull together. But obviously Blues have got other ideas, and thinking about in terms of the ins, 2 that are looked to be over the line. One, as of today, recording on the Monday, looks like he's going to be undergoing a medical today, if not already at Blues. So we've got a defensive midfielder and a left winger, but also a striker, just a forward player in general. So we've got John Solis to start with, haven't we?
That's right.
Yep.
Obviously done a bit of research there, haven't we, Dad?
Yeah, so he's a Colombian midfield player. 21, 22 years of age.
Defensive midfield player,
That's
isn't
right,
he?
he is, yeah. So he plays for Girona in Spain at the moment. From what I can gather, they've got quite a decent complement of midfield players, central midfield players already, and I think he's finding it difficult to get into their team as it stands at the moment.
Okay.
So he's got good pedigree. He's played in the Champions League for them at various points. Got a little bit of time back in his home country as well. So for somebody of his age, he's actually got decent experience at a very good level, which is always an encouraging thing. Now, I think what is really, really important to us three, because we've talked about it a lot, is his stature. He seems to be quite a kind of a big, sturdy guy, you know, who's going to add some pace and definitely some power and maybe some height to the midfield area, where we've talked a lot about kind of, you know, having misgivings about what we've got in there from what we've seen this season so far. So he definitely sounds like he's the kind that would fit the bill.
On him, just to kind of be the devil's advocate on it, we've made signings before where we think, a bit of power and pace there. Marvin Duksch, maybe getting used to the league a little bit, but Willem Willemsen from last season, automatically you think it translates, they're 6'2" plus. They're going to have a bit of strength about them, but we need people that are going to be fighters, particularly in the middle, because like I touched on earlier, when we're talking about, away games where we're backing off, we're not actually putting tackles in. I'm hoping that John Solis can actually do this for us. And the consensus that I'm getting online on X is that he's that kind of player, and a lot of people have said that apparently he's a lot more suited, or looks to be a lot more suited to a physical league like the Championship.
Yeah, which is interesting because in Spain it's more technical. It's the same in a lot of Europe, isn't it? This is where Marvin Duksch was saying recently on German radio, he's been a bit shocked at kind of, the physicality of the English game, particularly in the Championship. So if we've got a guy who's ready to come in and have that kind of roll your sleeves up attitude, and kind of battle away and use his frame to good effect in that area, then so much the better. You are right, we are signing something of an unknown quantity. It's interesting that Blues, and we'll talk about the other potential signing in a minute, it's interesting that Blues seem to be going down this slightly younger route at the moment. Players that have got potential resale value if they come off in a
anti-Wrexham, basically.
Or anti ourselves, actually, up to a certain point, because we've signed a lot of late 20s players. But on the face of it, and without seeing him play, and we said the same about Kyle Wagner, you don't know, but it sounds promising. That's all my view on it, really.
Yeah, could be a very strong addition. And obviously, forward player as well, which you're going to have to excuse me, I'm not going to try and pronounce the name. I did get it before we started recording, but it's completely gone out of my head now.
Abdoulaye Mana.
That's the name, and it's a quality name as well.
It is. It is a very good name.
So, obviously, got some strength and some pace himself. Seems like a player, from what I've read, that he likes to carry the ball forward and move us into positions without actually having to play it. And I think we really need someone like that. I think we do.
I'd agree.
Talking about this the other day. I don't know if you would agree, Dan, but I think the only player we've got like that is Scott Wright, and obviously he's been completely out, hasn't he?
He is. He's not going to be match fit, is he? I know he was on the bench in the latest league game, wasn't he? At home to Coventry City. Obviously, he didn't make an appearance, which I think is probably for the best. He just probably needs to get used to the match day atmosphere again, been in around the boys again on match day and the squad on the bench. So that's going to take a little bit of time. So I think the addition that we talked about there is probably going to be an important one. We don't really have an out-and-out backup for Damari Gray. And we need someone who's got that physicality going forward, that similarity in terms of carrying the ball forward, really taking on players. I say physicality, I know he's not a particularly physical player, as it were, but he will fight for the ball and he will duel with players to carry it forward, whereas we don't tend to see it as much from other players when they go as wide. As Dimmy does. So, on the other side, we've got a bit more cover in that respect because Patrick Roberts is one of the best holders up of the ball I've seen for a wide man, and certainly at this level anyway. So I think he'll be a valuable addition, and it'll be good as well, competition for Dimmy as well, out wide as well. And I think that's going to see, hopefully, beneficial to us in terms of what we talked about, in that maybe Davis now is starting to play a way where we're happy to sit back and then go out on the counter. And this hopefully fits into that. So maybe this is part of, maybe we're seeing a change in the approach of play at Blues under Davis now.
Then we have to, particularly away, don't we? Like we've touched on in many episodes before and post matches, we have to be more physical, have to be a presence away. We have to battle for second balls, and that's where a lot of games are won. And
we can't just move the ball side to side and wait for openings to happen. It's too passive.
How many times have we seen that? The amount of times that we've done that and we've walked away with no points. And it's wishful thinking, I suppose. I hope that they are going to do it, but I think that's the reason for the 2 additions, because they're both players that are going to be aggressive in the tackle and help drive us forward and press teams. Just be a presence. I think we need that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, Mane also seems like he's a guy that can play up front, so there's an option there, isn't there? To kind of, if you need more pace, and Kyogo's not cutting it, and I think Kyogo, just on a separate issue, I think he's going to stick around. I think he's got some confidence from Saturday, and I think he's going to stick around.
And I actually hope he does.
So do I. Yeah, I guess now I know that there's critics amongst even the people who watch us and comment, and it is very, very, very frustrating that he hasn't hit the heights that we all expected of him. Mm-hmm. But I don't see him going anywhere. I think he's made his own mind up to stick and kind of see it through. But Mane, I think, will be competition for him and for Stano, I would guess, as well in forward areas.
Yeah.
And if you need somebody who's got a little bit of physicality and a lot of pace and can carry the ball, that's a proper outlet, which we've not had at times. If you want to clear your lines and you want to get it into the channels and you want somebody who's going to kind of run with it and keep possession till the rest of the team pitch up the end of the pitch, then, he's the guy to do it.
Yeah.
And if Scott Wright's not going to be around, then we absolutely do need a player who's got those abilities.
We do. How's it going, fellow Blues fans? Hope you're enjoying the channel so far and liking today's video. I wanted to take a minute of your time to talk about our sponsor, Bangla Lounge Indian Cuisine. For these 3 blue boys, Bangla Lounge has been the go-to choice to enjoy the very finest in Indian cuisine for over a decade now. Made with the freshest ingredients using authentic recipes, Bangla Lounge produces some of the best Indian cuisine that I've ever tasted. And if you enjoy takeaway at the end of the week, orders for collection and delivery with 15% discount, ordering direct through the website. If you enjoy a sit-down meal, you can enjoy this for a 2-for-1 offer, running up for Sunday to Thursday every week on main courses. Or if you're celebrating a special occasion, such as a birthday, Bangla Lounge offers a buffet restaurant every Sunday, running from 5:30pm to 10pm. So if you like a tasty curry or a sizzling tandoori, get yourself down to Bangla Lounge Hell's Owen. Links in the description below of our video. And if you would like to fine dine after a win in the B9, thanks very much. Now back to the podcast.
So on the back of those 2, I don't think there's anything swirling as far as anybody else being an in. There's obviously a few names that have popped up here and there.
There are.
But as far as the outs, we've already touched on, Kyogo is going to remain at the club, it seems, at least till the end of the season. Obviously, the 2 that have been left out of the matchday squads now for the last 2 or 3 games, Mark Leonard and Lyndon Dykes. I don't know exactly if Leonard is connected with anyone. I half expect to move back to Northampton. Mm-hmm. They do like him there, from what I know. And then Lyndon Dykes, actually, as of today, I've read, because he was recently linked with Charlton. But I don't know if you guys have read this, because we haven't talked about it, but I think he's linked with Leicester. They're looking for a late move for him.
That would be surprising, because I did think the same as you, because I saw the same as you, that he was potentially on his way out to Charlton, which would actually suit him, particularly with the way that they play at Charlton as well. It's very physical. Mm-hmm. And obviously we know they've already got a tall presence in the centre forward that they've already got anyway. His name escapes me at this moment in time, but it would suit his style of play. I'd be surprised for Leicester coming in, but I don't blame them for going for him, because at the end of the day, Dykes is a Scottish international, and I don't think he does want to move back to Scotland to play. I think he does want to stay in the Championship, because it's a more competitive league, it's more visibility for him as a player, and I think he's comfortable playing there as well. So if he does go, obviously I wish him all the best. I just think he's been underutilised in Davis' squad, as has Mark Leonard. So if they both do move on, of course, as we're expecting them to, because they've been left out of the squad now for the past 2 games, I do wish them both all the very best, but it'll be a shame to see them both depart, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on was loan players in terms of the 2 I'm thinking of, James Beadle and Lewis Kumas. It looks like those 2 are going to remain with the club. Obviously, Lewis Kumas played really well against Coventry, scored the goal.
Yep.
And then played really well yesterday on the Saturday in the Cup against Cambridge. Yes, he's playing against weaker opposition, in terms of them being a few leagues lower. But the kid can only play us in front of him, and I would say overall his loan spell with it so far has obviously been disappointing, but I think it looks to me like the club are going to keep him on, and I hope the kid can really push on now. And because of the way we play as well. It looks like for the last few games he's played, he's started to cut in from the left a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He moved into a centre forward position, which is where he got his goal against Coventry, and he has been doing that. He had a header against Cambridge, which I thought he probably should have done better with, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was still quite a long way out. But yeah, I think they've started using him slightly differently. I'll be honest and say I have a strong suspicion that he may not hang around, though. I think Liverpool will be looking at game time. If Manny comes in, Dimmy's going to get fit, Keshi's still there, and you start to think maybe there's just too many people in front of him in the queue. One thing I was going to throw at you two is, we've talked about potential incomings and hopefully they get over the line. We've talked about outgoings. Where else have we got problems to fix, given that those two happen now?
Well, DM is obviously one that we've now hopefully got sorted, and striker. I think in terms of any other cover than that, I would say we need another strong centre-half.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I just think this question has been raised over Phil Neumann again, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
And Jack Robertson has really come to the fore. It's been his redemption arc, full redemption arc now, I think it's fair to say. Clara's obviously going to come back into the team now, and I think really, obviously we'll preview the Swansea game shortly as well, but I think going into that game, it will need to be Clara and Robertson staying as the central two, but really you need another one back up and offer a bit more of assurance. Somebody who, like Robinson, ideally has had championship experience, because
I would agree.
Phil Neumann's new to English football and he's new to the championship, and I think technically, as you touched on in the post-match reaction, Dad, to the Cambridge United game, he's technically good, but physically I think he struggles with it, whereas Clara doesn't, and certainly Robinson doesn't. So I think you're right, Joe. I think that's maybe the only place we need to strengthen, actually. And just touching on what you were saying about loan players as well, there's been a lot of talk about Patrick Roberts being signed permanently
that is true.
for around $1 million, which for me is an absolute steal for a player like Patrick Roberts.
I would think so, yeah. He's definitely one of the better wingers in the league.
I'd agree.
In terms of, because you just touched on championship experience there, he's definitely one. That rumour's been going around a while, so whether that's going to get over the line, I don't know. But obviously we've touched on the ins and the outs. But Dad, the question back at you, any areas other than centre-half that you feel that we'd have to strengthen?
It depends on the plan for Mane if he does get over the line. If Linden goes, there's still a hole in the forward line there for me. We're still looking at that physical player who's got a bit of pace. There's nothing new about that. Also with heading abilities, because I don't know what Mane's like in terms of getting his head on the ball. But if Linden were to go, who can head the ball up front? Who can hold it up for us?
That's a good point.
So the question remains about that. If Mane is that guy, fine. If he's not, then we're going to need something else there, because that is a gaping hole for me. If you're going to play on the counter, pace is fine. But if you want an outball from a goalkeeper, then you need a guy who's going to hold it up and lay it off. You do. The other one, which I'll throw out there, and something interesting came to me today, I think I heard someone talk about this, is wouldn't you have thought that in the cup match that Allsop should have started?
I would have thought so as well, actually.
And if he didn't, why? What's the thinking there?
The only thing I can say about that is that, think about the whole lineup. It was more or less the strongest 11. It's about winning. So obviously, at least to me, Chris Davis has put him in there because he's part of the strongest 11. If we'd put a few more changes in there, you'd probably expect Allsop to be one of them. So I think it was just that. I personally don't read too much into that, into thinking that Allsop's going anywhere. Yes, he should probably be afforded game time there, but I think the thinking was wanted a strong 11, wanted a win.
Just seems odd to me. And there's been a lot of noise, hasn't there, from people who comment to us and elsewhere about, does there need to be some more competition at keeper, because they're not convinced by either of them as it happens.
No, not really, no. And Brad Mayo's not really getting any of a look in anywhere, and I don't think people will be willing to give him an opportunity anyway. So maybe you're right, Dad. Maybe that's an area we need to see strengthening in, more competition at the very least.
I don't see the club doing it though. I think
I don't either. No, unfortunately.
I just think it's something that they might look at, but who knows. I think other than talking about transfers and to talk about the cup game, there's something I'd like to bring up right at the end of the podcast. Anybody that's watching, you know that we always put shirts behind us in our background, and you'll see that we've got two from the 84-85 season with the Ansell's sponsor on there, and that's deliberate because it relates directly to the very sad passing of Robert Hopkins over the weekend at the age of 64. Anybody of my age will know what Hoppy's history was with blues. You know, even though he started out at Villa when he was a kid, and he ultimately played for Albion, which very few players play for those three altogether. He's absolutely, you know, a bona fide blues legend. You know, like a cult hero, really. You know, because he represented a lot of the dark days at Blues in the 80s. You know, he did get a promotion with us when, you know, under Ron Saunders, when we got back up again. Wayne Clark scored all those goals, but Hoppy was there also for relegation battles and the dip into the abyss at the end of the 80s when Ken Weldon was there and the Kumars came in, and it felt like Blues was falling apart, and we've got 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 crowds. You know, he was there trying to fly the flag for us as Blue Noses, because that's what he was. And, you know, at a time like that, you needed somebody with that blue heart beating. I didn't go to Blues a lot in the 80s. I think I spent more time at Boogies and Snobs than I did at St Andrews, to be honest with you. And I think Hoppy probably did as well, actually. But he spent time playing with Howard Gale and Mick Harford and Noel Blake and you know, proper fighters, if you want to call them that, you know, playing for Blues. But it's a memory that sticks very well with me and lots of guys of my age and older. So it just remains to say, you know, we send our condolences to Hoppy's family.
Yeah,
and I'm just going to finish, instead of in our usual way, I'm just going to finish by saying, rest in peace, Hoppy. Keep right on.